cry because...
You middle-aged man, don't be stupid.
Don't hold back. Tell me how you really feel.
Welcome to Decoding TV's coverage of The Pitt Season 2, Episode 3, or Hour 3, or 9 a.m. to 10 a.m., however you want to call it. Over here on Decoding TV, we are covering, recapping, reviewing every single episode of The Pitt. You can subscribe to us on YouTube at youtube.com/@decodingtv to get all of our conversations. Patrick Klepek, what did you think overall of this episode? And then we're going to discuss the major cases that occurred.
Enjoyed it. Felt like this was the first episode that's like, hey, we like to gross you out, but do you want to cry? You got some tears, like you've been like working to get out. You got a glass of wine next to you and you're ready to cry a little bit and not admit it to the other person on the couch. Felt like this was one of those episodes. A couple different moments that sort of teed up to sort of get some waterworks, or at least think about it from the audience, especially as it feels like this is a inflection point. Like we have spent the first 3 episodes laying the track with our characters. Here's who they are. Here's what they're dealing with personally ahead of with the day ahead. And then here's where the shit is going to hit the fan. And that's what we're going to be dealing with for at least a huge chunk of the season. So I like where we are. I like where the characters are. And I'm fascinated to see how that ends up getting like brought to a really intense point as we pivot to, you know, a much more intense part of the season. Also, so I put this out there. What's up with that tooth, man? Like we keep coming back to that tooth. That tooth, I feel like I don't think we're just draining that tooth, man. Like I think something else is going. We're spending too much. Like, do you really need to be spending this much time watching the fluid drain from his stomach, and then also like we got to talk about this tooth? Just feels like if we like when they like a list of characters who like I'm worried might not be with us at the end of this season, David. Mm-hmm. I'm worried. Like I'm got
Louis. I think is the character.
Louis, yeah, like Louis. In the same way that this episode reintroduces the betting pool amongst like the folks in the pit. If we wanted to start taking some bets on characters who may not be with us, like Louis, I feel like you might be on the chopping block by the end. So yeah, enjoyed it. It was also written by Noah Wiley, which is interesting.
Yes.
But yeah, again, like I feel like I'm going to say this a lot of times, like another solid episode of The Pitt, and very excited to see how it stress tests our characters in the episodes to come.
Yeah, I thought this was a great episode. I got a little weepy a couple times during the episode, man. Like really powerful episode.
Oh man. Oh, okay. I see what you're doing.
Did you watch this with your wife? Did you watch this with your wife?
No, I did not. Okay. Which is probably for the best.
I'm curious if she cried at all, but yeah, it was very moving.
She will, but I think we both would. I would have been. I watched it. She was off doing something with a friend, so instead I was left to like deal with this like husband-wife dynamic by myself. I think I don't know if she was, because usually we sit next to each other and watch the show. Yeah. I don't know if that would have gotten me to be like, no, stone face, like no, you're cool, like you don't need to cry right now, or I would have been holding her hands and it would have been much worse. Fairly sure it would have been the latter. Well,
there is a subplot in this episode about an Asian couple that gets in an argument in a car and leads to something horrible
even
happening.
More targeted at you, like
and literally, I'm not exaggerating. Before I started watching the episode, I literally had an argument in the car with my wife, and it really like kind of made me think about life this episode. So anyway, great episode, really powerful stuff. And we're going to talk about some of the big cases and some of the stuff and the feelings that we felt as a result of some of these plot lines. So let's get into it. We start the episode with the character we left off last episode with, Jackson Davis, an aggressive college student shouting out random things. There is a moment when Dr. Robbie and Dr. Al-Hashimi disagree on the drug to give him to subdue him. And Dr. Robbie suggests droperidol. And Dr. Al-Hashimi interjects, we cannot give him droperidol without knowing what the patient's QT is. The QT, for those who don't know, is the interval. The QT interval is a measurement that represents the total time from ventricular depolarization to complete repolarization. Not 100% sure what that means, but obviously,
that sounds right.
My sense is that if you give someone droperidol without understanding what that is, it could lead to some dire consequences. Fortunately, they're able to get that readout, and Dr. Robbie's classic experience wins the day again. There is a subplot relating to this story with this guy named Tony Cinciolo, campus security, who was at work when this happened and the kid freaked out at him. Police come to take a statement, and Tony Cinciolo thinks he's the hero of the story, managing to subdue a kid who was on meth or drugs or something like that. But of course, the kid's drug labs come back completely clean. And I think what we're meant to conclude is that Tony Cinciolo's tasering ways were what helped to get this kid in the state that he ended up in.
Mm-hmm.
Patrick, was that your interpretation as well?
It did, although I got to be honest, like the Pitt's like endless optimism for like how some of this, like I don't know that like, ooh, I think this is a hate crime. Like I'm not sure. I'm not 100% confident that's how these dynamics would have played out with this kid. It's how I wish society worked. I'm not sure that like the cops would show up to take a statement. They're like, ooh, turns out you're the bad guy. I don't know. That's one of those, Pitt, where
are you saying that sometimes people don't do the right thing, Patrick, in all situations? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, especially once we're involving like cops and like a black kid that is like clearly having like a mental or whatever is going on with him. Like I'm just like I don't know, Pitt. That's this like of all the things that you do that are unrealistic, this is the one where I you might have gotten me. But look, hey, I'm fine with a show that wants to, given how nihilistic so much of other media is, I think it is okay for a show to say, what if the right thing happened more often than not?
I mean, Patrick, the show has never been subtle, and it has generally been quite preachy.
Yes.
And
and that fits the MO, 100%.
And we definitely got a big dose of that this episode as well. You know, so like,
there's a lot. It's Noah Wiley really just
right. So that's fine. You know, and that's fine. That's fine. You know, like the show is extremely earnest. We did also see, by the way, it's fun to see like characters get discharged from the hospital. You're like, oh, and now their plotline is over, and we can move on. It's refreshing in this day and age that we get like, oh, and the character's arc is over, and like you literally have a concrete sign of that when they leave. Now, sometimes the characters come back later on in the shift, as happened in the first season. But like, you know, we did see Mr. Randall get discharged this episode. He's the one that had the erection that wouldn't go away. We did get an email about this topic from a listener named Manos. I do want to say we would love your emails over at decodingtv@gmail.com. Let us know what you thought of the episodes. And if you are a doctor, we'd love to hear your perspective on some of the things that happen in each episode and whether you found them to be accurate or not. Manos writes in, I was amazed that the Pitt did the priapism case and attributed it to injections. Priapism is erection that won't go down, basically, right? Most shows do Viagra. But as somebody who worked at a major national medical group for 11 years that treated sexual dysfunction, that case was spot on. We also might prescribe injectable medication for patients where Viagra was not effective or was contraindicated due to underlying health concerns. The patient would draw the medication at the prescribed dosage and inject it at either the 10 or 2 position on the dorsal side of the penis into the corpus cavernosa. And if they got priapism and it didn't come down after jogging in place or a hot bath, our phone hotline would have them meet our physician at the office or head to the nearest hospital. Many times our doctors on our hotline would need to walk an emergency department doctor through the process of aspiration or even shunting to draw blood and prevent long-term tissue damage. Anyways, too much info, but I was amazed they went there and had it so accurate, although most patients don't inject twice as much as they would just up their dosage on their own, end quote. I'm not sure exactly what he meant by that last statement, but regardless, Manos, writing into decodingtv@gmail.com, thinks that the priapism case in the Pitt, super accurate. So just FYI, the Pitt continues its verisimilitude trend. All right. There's a couple of big stories this episode, right? Like the big one being, let's call them Asian couple involved in motorcycle accident. So there's Mark Yi and his wife, Mrs. Yi. The idea is that he's driving a car and a motorcycle runs a red light and smashes into him. And then he shows up and Marky, like, he is not able to move. So they think he's paralyzed. They think he might have had some spinal damage or something like that. But the CT is normal. And then they're like, oh, well, maybe you can have spinal injuries that don't show up on CT, which is true. You might need the MRI. But it turns out he has extremely low potassium level. Hypokalemic periodic paralysis, which is when potassium gets shifted into the cells. Theoretically, it should stabilize in a few hours. But so they're in the process of stabilizing him when Mrs. Yi passes out from internal bleeding from the accident. I have to say, Patrick, I know you didn't watch ER. That is like classic ER. It's when like an emergency comes from a thing that you did not even expect. It is a wonderful. I mean, it's horrible for the characters, but it's like a wonderful kind of twist, right? Where you're like, oh my, I didn't even see that coming. You know, like I really appreciated that as kind of a nod to some of these classic emergency medicine shows. But anyway, the two of them have like some real thinking about the importance of life and what's most important in life. And when you're in an emergency room, you tend to think about those things. Patrick Klepek, any thoughts on the Mark Yee storyline this episode?
Well, I mean, for one, I just like the fact that it introduces, our main protagonist making a mistake, and I like that the show actually has some characters pointing that out. Like, why didn't you do an exam? Like,
Yeah.
well, I'm sorry that I didn't have X-ray goggles, and it's like, I'm sorry, buddy, that's called deflection. You did screw. Like, I think it's the way it's
So
presented.
you like apportion a lot of blame to them for not examining her.
Well, I think two things can be true. That they made a reasonable assumption in the moment to focus on the husband and not examine the wife. It is also a mistake that they did not force the wife to undergo a basic examination. So it's like, I think the way the show like kind of pieces that storyline together and is really well done, because it allows for a bunch of things to be true at the same time, where it's like, yeah, of course it makes sense why you did that, but also if she dies or like is in a very complicated medical situation, it is because nobody examined her and like got her treatment like earlier before it got more complicated. So, I mean, I expect it all to sort of, I think she's going to be okay. I think the two of them will probably get a moment, and like that's just kind of how the show is. But I do like the show introducing moments where Dr. Robbie this is not a show that presents him as infallible, right? Like the first season, those infallibilities, the mistakes that he makes, sometimes happen in private, sometimes happen in front of others. But I was interested what is going to be the moments they introduce this season about like the mistakes he might make, the assumptions he might make along the way, and like where is that going to bite him. So I appreciated that dynamic, and yes, the classic sort of melodrama. This is not a show that so far at least like feels like it indulges in the plot twist melodrama that is like a wife fainting while she's looking over her husband recovering from what she thought.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
yeah,
it's
rare that it happens.
If you say that out loud, it sounds like something that would be in a lesser show. But I do think done correctly and not all the time, that can be a fun part of the dynamic. Plus, part of what I appreciated about in a lot of traditional stories about like someone who undergoes like a paralysis, that's just going to be the diagnosis, and we're going to live with that. The fact that they have a unique way out of it, and then something happens to her, I can live with the melodrama if it serves the characters.
Yeah. I mean, this is an episode in general about things not being what they seem. You know, there's
a lot of plot twists. There's a lot of like,
that's kind of a theme. That's kind of a theme of the episode, is like things not being what they seem. And this is one, like they think he's paralyzed, but it's actually because of potassium deficiency. They think the wife's fine, but she's not. And we're going to go through some of the other ones here. I mean, okay, Patrick, let's talk about another one of the plot lines. This one really messed me up, I have to say. Like, I'm going to be thinking about this one for a while. Mr. Williams, the guy who showed up, he had a head injury and they didn't know what was going on. They did a CT scan on him. They discovered a brain mass about 4 centimeters in his frontal lobe. They're unsure if it's cancer, could be an infection, inflammation, or benign cyst. Possibly it's the thing that made him fall and injure himself. I think Dr. McKay proposes a CT-guided stereotactical biopsy with a blunt, thin needle. Now, while they're talking about this, his ex-wife of 4 to 5 years, Gretchen Williams, comes in because he listed her as an emergency contact on some form that he long forgot about. And as a result, she came in. Although they've been divorced for years, they have a chance to reconnect. And he explains the situation to her. But we learn that they've been divorced, and then Gretchen has remarried. However, at the very end of the episode, we learn from Dr. McKay that it's possible that the reason they got divorced might have been because of mood changes brought about by this mass in his brain. Which is like, I mean, that would really mess me up, man. Like, what I mean by that is, can you imagine if you found out that your ex has a brain mass, and then also like the reason she became your ex and was started acting erratically might be because of the same mess, right? Like that would like reorient your entire understanding of your relationship. You know what I mean?
Yeah, because you have that moment. They do a good job in the moment when she comes in and he's very vulnerable and quiet and very affectionate to, you get a sense that like, yeah, they got divorced, but if you were somehow able to like snap that aside, like there's still like a core of like, why were these two people together? And there's a moment in their vulnerability where you see a window into a different relationship. And so to set that up and then have that reveal is just like so heartbreaking. I mean, this is a friend of a friend, but like there's somebody I know through that like network where the wife suffered a traumatic brain injury, recovered, but it basically permanently altered her personality. She became dangerous around the family, erratic, dangerous around her children, and all due to a fall that just changed something in her brain where it's like, do you get like you should be helping this person, but like also they're a danger to like you and like your young I mean, it's just like truly heartbreaking where like this person hasn't done anything wrong, but they're suddenly now a danger to you and the people around you because of a medical incident. So different sort of circumstances from the one here, but I couldn't help but like think about that as I was watching this little drama unfold. And, I don't think I'm not sure we see those characters again. Like maybe we get resolution on whether it's a cancerous tumor but I also wouldn't be shocked if the more heartbreaking one is that there's no cancer. It's like benign. It's like something they can drain or remove. And he goes on to live a totally normal life, but it becomes this sliding doors moment where
right.
you now my suspicion is, I guess the question becomes, does the other shoe drop? Does he ever get informed that past personality sort of issues might have been the result of this, or is that just a secret that is kept to his ex-wife? My guess is a secret between an exchange between the doctor and the ex-wife, and we're just left to sit with that knowledge and how tragic it sounds.
Yeah, I think it's just a sign of how physical ailments can shape who you are as a person. And I know that might sound obvious to some people, but yeah, just like something growing inside you, something that is part of your DNA, something that's part of your blood, may cause you to be a different person in the eyes of other, even though for you, you're just the same person. And I think it's a very profound idea that is explored in this mini short film of the story of Mr. Williams in this show, The Pitt. All right, let's talk about some of the other cases. Kylie Connor's father comes in. For those who don't recall, Kylie Connor's had come in and she tripped and fell and scraped herself and was bleeding, but she also had a bunch of bruises from all over her body. And so they were kind of suspecting that her dad might be abusive, but it didn't really add up. Like the way she was responding to questions didn't really make it seem like her dad was abusive. The dad comes in, Mr. Connors, and he is really belligerent, pugnacious. Like, what's the word to use here? Asshole, very angry. And then things almost start coming to blows. He's like getting really emotional, and you feel like he's going to punch someone. And then all of a sudden, the nurse interjects, Kylie's platelets are only 9,000, and that it's probably ITP. ITP stands for immune thrombocytopenia, although it has stood for immune thrombocytopenic purpura in the past. And it indicates that her immune system is causing the destruction of platelets, which may cause easy bruising. Dr. Santos says nothing like a zebra to kickstart your morning. Are you familiar with that term, Patrick Klepek?
Nothing like a zebra to kickstart your morning.
Well, it's better than the alternative.
I've heard it, but you want to explain what she means?
I first learned about this term from ER. The idea is that if you hear hear hooves, generally it's a horse, not a zebra, right? Like it's weird for you to think, oh, if you hear hooves, you wouldn't say like that's a zebra. That's a weird thing to say. But what she said was, hey, nothing like a zebra to kickstart your morning, meaning a very non-obvious solution for this answer, which is everything points at this dad being the person that's creating this daughter's pain. Number one, his demeanor. Number two, the nature of her injuries. Like all these things are pointing at like this is the guy that did it. And sometimes, even when all the signs point at this one solution, it's not the solution, which I think is a very important lesson to learn in general, and also just very clever. And I appreciate it. Like there's a lot of ER DNA in this episode. That makes a lot of sense if Noah Wyle wrote it, because he obviously was a huge part of ER.
Right.
So,
well,
yeah.
I think it's interesting because it's the second time we have a similar setup for the same doctor, and a lot of how Dr. Robbie is presented is knowledge from decades of experience informing how he goes about his work. With the suspected child abuse situations, it's allowing personal history to create assumptions about situations that are then potentially debunked by the science and like trying to understand what's going on. But like over and over, she is bringing a lot of herself, which is inevitable, right? You're going to bring yourself and your history into your work, even if it's a medical doctor. But she's doing this over and over, specifically with cases like this. And it hasn't bit her yet. It'd be weird if like there was another child abuse case this season of the Pitt for her to untangle. But I wonder if at some point some version of this is going to, I don't know, complicate a case that she gets involved in.
Yeah, Dr. Santos you're referring to, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah. Anyway,
this is an aside. This came up to me because we've already gone past the motorcycle thing. But
yeah.
Do you think this is low hanging fruit for the show? And maybe the show is a show that will do this. But like, Noah Wyle comes into this season on a motorcycle not wearing a helmet. And they make a very specific point with the person who was on the motorcycle that blew past the intersection, was not wearing a helmet, suffers a traumatic brain injury, that comes into the hospital dead.
Yeah, DOA, basically.
Yeah, they don't even do a moment of silence because they're like, he was dead when he got here. He'll be dead when we get around to this, which is a very funny point. But like, do you think the show will do such low? It is obviously inevitable for a show like this to put one of its doctors in danger. Do you think him having a brain injury, something involving this motorcycle and the helmet, is me connecting too many dots, or is something the show is going to do something with this season?
I don't know that it's connecting too many dots, but I think I would say that the show is explicitly calling attention to Dr. Robbie's lack of wearing a helmet, and then this guy getting this guy's brain getting completely obliterated because he didn't wear a helmet. There's also an explanation. Apparently, the explanation is read on the air. The show is very good at like being explicit about what's going on. He says, so a character says no helmet because he took the PennDOT motorcycle safety course, end quote. So apparently, if you take the PennDOT motorcycle safety course in Pennsylvania, you are allowed to not wear a helmet, which I don't understand how that, I didn't explore exactly why that makes sense, but like it is a fact. And the show wants to explicitly call out, A, Dr. Robbie doesn't wear a helmet. B, he's lying about it, right? Like he literally says a lie, like, oh yeah, I took the PennDOT safety course, but I still wear a helmet.
Because he took the PennDOT motorcycle safety course.
Isn't that what you took, Robbie?
Full compressions, yes, but I still wear a helmet.
No, Dr. Robbie, we saw that you did not, sir. Right?
Now,
so
it
like,
might be as simple as like just a gag at the end where somebody like Robbie, like you can imagine like one of the doctors going over and like they gift him a helmet as he's like going off and like he just puts it on as he leaves. Like it might be as simple. It's nothing traumatic. It's just like he enters the season without a helmet, and after the end of the shift, it's like, wow, I got to wear a helmet. Like it might just be as simple as that.
I think that is what's going to happen, but I think that there is a difference between how we perceive ourselves, how we present ourselves to the world, and how we actually are. And this helmet thing is a way of illustrating that dynamic with Dr. Robbie, right? Like he wants to project the image that he follows most of the rules, and even if that's not the case, and there's a part of him that rebels against it, right? Which is why he doesn't wear a helmet, probably, right? So, but yeah, good thinking. I like where your head's at, Patrick. I like where your head's at, which is to say, Noah Wyle not having a head. But I do think that
bold
it's
move
probably
by
going to
the
be
show to kill the main character in the second season. Wow,
You're right. He's gonna end the season. He's gonna put on a helmet, and that's what's gonna happen. So,
I agree. I think that's what's gonna happen.
There is the case of Mrs. Kovalenko, who drops a samovar, which is a big metal urn for coffee or tea, after reacting to fireworks on July 4th. Her leg is extremely messed up. I felt like there was some real glee going on behind the scenes when like they were shooting this and being like, make sure you get a real nice close up of all those like skin flat, like it. They lingered on it for so long. It was really upsetting. But we learned that she is from the Tree of Life Synagogue, where a 2018 shooting killed 11 people and wounded 6, and is in the process of rebuilding. And she has been very traumatized by the shooting and responds poorly to fireworks. I have to say, this is a powerful plot line. It is very, very preachy and earnest. There is this moment when she thanks her Muslim nurse. And anything that is giving us Jewish Muslim solidarity in today's day and age, I fully support. But it is kind of like, oh wow, they're really like laying it on thick here.
Here's the nose. Can we put it on it? Like,
yeah.
like,
what do you mean by that? What do you mean? Explain that, Patrick.
It's just very obvious. It's just like
Yes,
it's such an on the nose. Like it's just incapable of doing anything but.
FYI, like that's what this scene is about. Which is like I support the message. I support the message and the solidarity, and it was actually moving. It did work on me, and also I'm like, okay, it's a little like It's very the Pitt.
Is with the show, like it just like the show is not pretending to be other than itself, and if I suppose depending on the different things that bother you, like different versions of these can just like kind of skate past you, and other ones can bother you. Like I imagine for a lot of people that like don't exist as online as you or I, the AI stuff isn't really gonna like, okay, that was a scene, and they moved on. Like it's like different ones are going to hit you in different ways, but this is the show's DNA, is being overtly moralizing, preachy, in your face about doing the right thing. And I guess it's a feature, not a bug. And then you just got to figure out how you feel about that.
100%. That said, I did really enjoy Miss Kovalenko, and then when she gives Dr. Robbie a really hard time about riding a motorcycle, that was very, very funny. So a lovely story, beautiful story. I support the message of rebuilding, of solidarity amongst different religions and ethnicities, very much so. And also the Pitt is really, really earnest sometimes. Mm-hmm. Those things are all true. There is a story with a boy named Duante who is making bracelets with his sister and accidentally puts beads up his nose. They find a blue bead and a red bead, and Dr. Langdon and his nurse and Duante's dad are kind of in this very intimate moment when Dr. Langdon shares blessings from John O'Donohue. Do you know John O'Donohue, by the way, the poet, the Irish poet and philosopher? Patrick Klepek?
I heard of, but not super familiar with.
The blessing is, may you be gentle and loving, clear and sure. May you trust in the unseen providence that has chosen you to be a family. May you stand sure on your ground and know that every grace you need will unfold before you like all the mornings of your life, end quote. Noah Wiley has explained why he chose this passage over at tvline.com. I'm going to read an interview. Noah Wiley says, John O'Donohue is an author that I got turned on to several years ago by David Crosby's widow, Jan, a good friend who is looking for some cones of wisdom to help her through a difficult time, Wiley shared. His book of blessings I found to be absolutely beautiful. Every one on every subject had some really lovely phrasing and some really lovely wisdom, so he's just been in my back pocket. When it came to writing this scene, it's 3 fathers in a room with a kid that won't sit still, and that's a rare thing to get. Donahue is a new father. He's got a baby at home. Langdon's got slightly older kids, and fatherhood doesn't come with a manual. So you've got 3 guys in there talking about their experiences of being fathers, end quote. Anyway, I just thought that was some interesting reflections on how that passage just came to be in this show, which is that Noah Wiley got it, and he connected it to Langdon's struggling during this time, and 3 fathers being in a room talking about what it's like to be a dad. Patrick Klepek, you've been a dad. I'm sure you've been in this situation multiple times. Any thoughts?
My oldest, when she was 2, I think she was 2, 1.5, 2, did put a like dried blueberry up her nose. It got stuck. Did not use this specific tool. Mostly was just like an extremely long, thin tweezers at the doctors to have it removed. But she told me like, Dad, nose. I was like, what do you, okay. Like, yeah, nose. Like, noses run all the time when you're that age. Get out of the shower. And she's like, starts crying. And I see there's like blue stream coming out of her nose.
Oh my God.
I was like, did you put in your nose? She's like, yes. And I'm like, so I get my phone, like my camera out or my phone out, look the flashlight up. I can see it. Looked online. What am I supposed to do? And it's like, you first try and get them to sneeze. But unfortunately, my kid was much younger than the kid portrayed in the show. Getting them to like forcefully sneeze is just really, they won't do it. They just don't really know how to operate their body. They can like go like, but they can't like really, like they can't do a snot rocket, which is like what I needed to happen for it to be dislodged. And then they say to get a tweezers and see if you can remove it yourself. But if all you're doing is pushing it further back, to stop. And I went in there, tried to remove it. All it did was push back further. And so I stopped. And then you go to the doctor and they take care of it themselves.
Wow. So you really connected with this scene, perhaps on a very personal level.
Yeah, except for the fact that the most realistic thing in this whole sequence was that clearly Noah Wyle doesn't know what a video game is, and like no one told him. They wrote it, they shot it, and like at no point did anyone step in and be like, this is how video games work. Like they give him a weird like knockoff Oculus like helmet, and then hand them like a Super Nintendo controller to like play some VR game. Like, what are we fucking what are we doing? Like, what are we doing? Now, granted, I think it's beautiful. I think
let's just put this out there. Let's just put this out there. Not a good thing to give a kid when you want his head to stay still.
No, right? I don't think this is a thing that's happening in hospitals, that they're giving them like, also according to terms of service of like devices like the MetaQuest, like you are not supposed to use these devices for children under the age of like 11. So like lots of things, like now that's just a bunch of bunk science. It is actually totally fine for kids to use VR in like short-term situations at younger than that age. The entire reason Meta doesn't want you to do that is because they can't target ads to kids at certain ages under that, which is why then they built. Anyway, that's a whole other tangent. I thought it was beautiful that the video game stuff was complete nonsense in the midst of this really lovely scene between two like fathers and one perspective. Just the good stuff. Just the good stuff. Like fine. Which is a hallmark of that, like how video games are depicted in media these days is much more accurate just because the people writing the work are probably game fans themselves. But it is a throwback to like the 90s of just like made up video games on the TV written by people who don't play them. And so I like I said, I think it's beautiful.
Wonderful. Wonderful. Couple of other cases to mention. We did see like some resolutions or moving along of some other cases that occurred. There was Mrs. Graham or Miss Graham, the deaf woman that was in the waiting room. The nurse at the front says like, or the receptionist says, "Oh, I just saw that you had an ASL note in your chart. We'll get you seen as soon as possible." So I assume we're going to find out what the deal with her is in a future episode very soon. Digby, the unhoused gentleman who had the maggots in his cast, he gets a prescription for antibiotics. I feel like his arc is over, but who knows? I don't know like if anything further is going to come of that. There is this guy, Mr. Diaz, who I think was injured by rebar, if I'm not mistaken, and not really much happens to him this episode, but we do see another chance for Doctors Ogilvy and Javadi to compete with each other, which I think is a fun little rivalry that's going on in the show. And I think that's mostly it. Like we've talked about basically everything. We talked about Louis' abdomen and how that you think that's going to lead to something bad. We talked about Jackson Davis, the aggressive college student. And as the episode concludes, we learn that all traffic will be diverted to this hospital from Central District for reasons unknown. Who knows what's going to happen? Could be something big. So, any other thoughts, Patrick Klepek, on the episode? Any other thing you want to mention from the episode?
No, just
wait. There's one other thing. The Hansen cousins are discharged, but then their dad's in the waiting room. He passed out after forgetting his blood pressure medication, and he learns that the doctors learn that they're pooling meds together. And then I was stunned when I saw the table of meds. I heard pooling meds. I'm like, oh, that's fun. Like maybe it's a few bottles. It's like it looked like it was like 100 bottles, Patrick. It looked like dozens and dozens and dozens of medicine bottles. Is this a common thing, Patrick? Do you pool? Is this something that white people do? Do they pool meds like this?
It's not that I'm aware of. This is the Pitt's version of filler. We need to give we can't have an episode where you don't see these characters doing something. So we're going to give them something silly and easily resolved. And like, I forgot that. I watched this episode last night and I forgot those sequences occurred because it was so forgettable. Because it really felt like it was just a show throwing a bone to a couple of characters. Like, well, we can't not have them in the episode.
Indeed. Anyway, great episode, great twists, powerful moments. It's all I can expect from that episode of The Pitt. Hey everyone, David Chen here. Thank you so much for watching that video from Decoding TV. If you want to get an audio version of the show, all you got to do is go to podcast.decodingtv.com. And if you want to support what we do, get ad-free episodes of the podcast and also bonus episodes of the podcast, go to decodingtv.com and become a paid member. Of course, you can also like and subscribe for more. We appreciate it. Thanks. See you later.